So today, given the crisis that we're in, I wanted to kind of focus more on what we can do at home to spruce up our remote support, remote home. So actually all of my clients, I don't have any essential business clients. So all my clients are in dire need of getting their employees set up for remote work, making sure it's secure, making sure they have access to all the resources that they have access to in their regular work environment. So, I mean, it's a time right now where everyone is at home working. The kids are online more than ever, and so are we. So I think it's very critical, and I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit of information with you about how to get your stuff up and running. Technology for work from home. So the first thing we all need to do is determine what capabilities you already have and what you need to add. So many of us, we already have home Wi-Fi, but this is for small business owners that are employees, or excuse me, small business owners and their employees, as well as entrepreneurs that already work from home, coffee shops. You already have Wi-Fi, but you may need to consider some other hardware, some other services to spruce up what you're doing, because if you're trying to access resources from your work, there's some other routes you need to take to make sure you have that and to make sure that it's secure. So the key areas to consider with this is securing the work from home platform as well as team collaboration. So team collaboration aspect is exactly what we're doing now here on Zoom. So the fact that everyone is here on Zoom kind of speaks to everyone being kind of up to speed with how to collaborate with your team, how to collaborate with your loved ones. So that aspect is pretty much covered. I mean, there's many different tools to use outside of Zoom, but we're all kind of up to date on that aspect of collaborating with your team. So the home office security essentials. The number one thing is obviously we have Wi-Fi. That's why we're online here. But just to ensure you have a great Wi-Fi signal with everything going on inside the home, you're going to want to ensure that your Wi-Fi is running at its optimal state, because everyone is online. That's just a given fact. Everyone in your home is going to be online doing various things. So you want to make sure that you can position your Wi-Fi in an area where it's going to maximize its connectivity. VPN, antivirus, and I'll go over briefly what these things mean. Data backup, password protection, web protection, just making sure that you and yourself are protected online, different sites that you go to, just to verify you're going to the right place versus a malicious website or link or download. And the last but not least, your children's privacy, as well as the screen time monitoring. With kiddos at home more, you're going to want to monitor what they're doing online just to ensure they're safe and you're keeping your home network safe. Is your Wi-Fi keeping them? Don't just rely on your Wi-Fi bars to measure your home connection. While it's great to know you've got a strong signal, it'd be even better if it were fast and available exactly when you need it. The internet could be down and you still could have full bars, but because it's only measuring how close you are to your Wi-Fi router, that proximity measure doesn't take into account how many devices are fighting for the same bandwidth or whether there's any left for you. We can ensure that Wi-Fi isn't just available, but it's up to task. So there's a couple of ways to do that. Is making sure that your router isn't being blocked by different metal objects in front of the microwave while the microwave is going is a significant hindrance, as well as just devices being utilized at the same time is going to hinder your Wi-Fi connectivity. So like I said, when you look on your phone or your computer, those bars, I mean, they're very significant, but they don't always measure exactly what you think you're really asking when you're looking to see if you're connected. Like I said, it just measures how close you are to the Wi-Fi router. It doesn't necessarily mean that's how fast your connection is going to be, or whether or not, oops, sorry about that, or whether or not you're actually connected with full speed. So as we know, Wi-Fi goes up, down, sideways. So while your next door Wi-Fi can reach the back of their property, it can also go in a similar distance sideways in your house. So this extra noise can disrupt and slow down your own Wi-Fi. In dense areas, your Wi-Fi is basically getting lost in a bunch of field signals, all using the same channel. So it's in the digital crowd, which can be seriously slowing down your speeds, you can fix this by changing the channel on your Wi-Fi to one with less crosstalk. So if you can look on the admin side of your router, you can see exactly where the channels are and which people in your neighborhood are using up so much bandwidth on those particular channels. So you can set which channel you want your Wi-Fi to be on just to maximize your connectivity. And like I said, this is real key now because we're online more at home than ever. So the beginning of the day, as well as the end of the day, it's just 24/7 maximum bandwidth usage. And I don't know if any of you heard, but I know Netflix, I mean, a lot of streaming apps were down for a couple hours in the last couple of weeks, and they said they fixed it, but I mean, who knows what can happen, going forward while even more people are transitioning to that work from home environment. And one other key thing, when you get your router, change the default settings. Most default settings come, your username is password, and then the password is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have to change that because I know for myself, dealing with various brands of routers, I know what their default password is going to be. So it's very easy for someone who has that understanding to hack into your router and take full advantage of your home environment. This isn't to scare you. This is just simple measures to protect you that you can do by yourself at home without, I mean, there's many different things you can Google to find this information, but I just want you to kind of be alert so that you can protect yourself without having to pay tons of money to have someone doing it for you. So securing your home, that's a real key. That's the first thing I share with my clients is what is the security look like, whether at your business or at your home. So once you connect it to the internet, you'll also have to log into work. This is for those of you who are using a VPN, which is your virtual private network. If you're using the server at work, essentially, you're gonna have to log into that server. And so some businesses will have their VPN set it up for added security. And what the VPN does, it connects your computer, smartphone, or tablet to your shared or public network as if you're connecting it to a private network. So it's an encrypted tunnel, basically, that puts your information so no one else can see it. And even if they did see it, it's fully encrypted and it's a pathway to your work environment. So that's how larger businesses are allowing their employees to work from home, is through that VPN connection, which is secure. And you can also have that VPN set up on your devices at home, with even if you're not accessing your work server. So that VPN essentially hides your IP address so that no one can have eyes on what you're doing and then the data that you are utilizing and that you're sending to your team. So if not, that responsibility for securing your online activity, it's yours. It's always a good idea to make sure your operating system is up to date, plus you run the latest antivirus software with the most recent security patches installed. So one thing about the antivirus is there's the free version and there's a paid version. So the free version options are created from the paid versions, taking out everything except the bare minimum. So the paid antivirus is more likely to identify and stop new viruses on your computer. So we always recommend to go with the paid antivirus. It defends you from new attacks that are released daily. And especially with what's going on now, I mean, even more than ever, there are malicious insiders, attackers preying upon individuals who are at home and who never had to have this much security added to their work environment. So you want to ensure that you have solid protection that will make a real difference in your digital security. Another aspect is backing up your data. So more and more businesses and organizations are getting stung by ransomware demands. Hospitals, schools, social networks. Some days it seems like an epidemic that leaps around arbitrarily, and hackers are raking in millions of dollars, preying on small businesses and one owner operator businesses. You may not think it could happen to you, even if you're not a business owner, it can still happen. And so don't let the fact that you may only hear about large companies getting hacked fool you into thinking that it couldn't happen to you. So ransomware attacks are devious in their simplicity, and a user is the target, and they're either being tricked into opening a file, usually through a phishing email or a download. So I know you get emails from people you never heard of, or someone in a different country, you know, your long lost cousin or something like that, telling you to, you know, they have $1 million, they need you to send them $1,000 to access it. It really doesn't make any sense, but believe it or not, they fool so many people with these phishing emails. So the file contains malware which instantly encrypts your data and demands money in exchange for your passwords and your data. So small businesses are the major target right now. It seems attackers understand that small businesses don't have the most robust layered security, so the chances of that small business paying the ransom are extremely high. So all of the target businesses should have backups. So that's the thing you need to have, because if in the case you do get hacked, never pay the money. The only time I would ever even consider doing that is if you never had a backup. So what the backup does is they encrypt all your data. You say, well, fine, you can have it. They're not going to give it back unless you pay them. But because you have that backup, you can just redeploy and restore that information and get back up to running as if nothing ever happened. But within doing that, you also need to beef up your security, find out why it happened, how it happened. And so that's why backups are so important. And believe it or not, early on when I start taking on clients, a lot of them never, I mean, they may have a backup, but you have to ensure that your backup is functioning. You have to run tests on it. You have to make sure that it is there and, you know, is doing exactly what you needed to do in the case that your data is locked up, some ransomware attack. So if you're finally deciding to back up, and I say finally because most of my clients coming on, that's one of the last things they were thinking about is backup, because you get your internet, you have your security, you have processes you need for your team to work, but oh, I forgot my backup. So here's a couple of things you need to know when it comes to that. When it comes to the right form of storage, you need to weigh in the period of time you need to keep that data, what protections from loss or illicit access from your backup method. Basically, essentially, what is that backup offering in the case that your data is lost, and whether that data can easily be restored or retrieved, how accessible, searchable, and quickly available that data can be. So sometimes you might need that data on your phone, you might need it on a work computer, your home computer. So if it's saved in the cloud and I mean, there's many platforms that can do this. It's just essential that you actually have that backup and make sure that it's functioning properly. And lastly, any industry or compliance standards that need to be met. So I know healthcare providers, financial service providers, I mean, their backup has to be top notch because they need to archive most of that, or pretty much all of that information for auditing, for patients and client records. Password manager, I cannot stress enough, change your passwords. Don't use the same passwords for every account. If in the case that you do use the same passwords, you need to have a password manager. So we often tend to be creatures of habit, particularly when it comes to technology. But passwords are a prime example of this because many of us use the same logins for multiple websites and applications because we don't have a photographic memory. Large percentage of users aren't aware that this is the most significant security danger they can face online, and is really simple, but possibly time consuming to fix. So the danger of using old passwords and just having good password management. So good security practice is to use unique and strong passwords for every login you use. Now I know this will take time inputting all of these passwords into a password manager. However, it can certainly save your data, it can save you from getting hacked or someone stealing those passwords and using it to access your accounts. Last thing I want to leave you with, not to scare anybody, but steer clear of coronavirus scams. So far, several coronavirus-related attempts to cyber scam people have been reported. So there are examples of emails that appear to come from government, health departments, tax refunds to get people to click on malicious links, memos to staff that appear to come from large companies, COVID-19 test offerings from private companies, fake websites promising to sell face masks or hand sanitizers, and soliciting donations to help fund a vaccine. So many times, a lot of these emails, you can see right off the bat that they're not from a reliable source. Many times you can look at the grammar, spelling of emails, it just doesn't seem right. Never open those emails. Even if it's coming from someone that you know, just call them, verify, did you send me this email? And even a step with that, sometimes their accounts could have been hacked and sending you an email. And that's kind of the point of it, because if it's coming from someone that you know, you're more likely to obviously, click on the links that they're sending you. But you just have to be aware. I mean, no matter how much security that you can put on your network, on your devices, the number one reason your devices or your systems get hacked is because of user error. That's because of us going to websites we shouldn't be going to, or your kids happen to go to something they shouldn't be going to, or misconfigured router or firewall, things like that. It's user error. So we have to, just like we're, hand sanitizing, washing our hands, wearing masks if you need to. Everyone has to do their own part. Even if you have an IT provider taking care of your stuff, I stress to my clients, you have to make sure you are doing the right things online. So that's not to scare you. It's just to be aware. I mean, in this time, I mean, there's not just the virus in itself, but we're home online doing this because we are quarantined. So, and malicious insiders know that. They know that people are online 24/7. So whatever you can do to keep yourself safe, it's highly stressed by any IT provider that you want to seek out. So that's all that I have to say about that. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. If anyone has any questions or any issues concerning their
So I was going to let you know, we do have some questions that came in through chat. So I will go ahead and answer those questions. So first of all, from Carissa Thompson, are there any Wi-Fi boosters that you would recommend Also, how do I access the admin side of Wi-Fi? Ooh, that's my question as well. Go ahead.
So there are numerous brands that work very well, especially for home. When you get to home use, that kind of broadens because you don't necessarily need enterprise grade for those things. Netgear has some really good products. Linksys has good products. How you access the admin side is when you deploy your router or those extenders or access points, they're all very similar and have some of the same function. Even when you're reading the directions, you know, you can follow those directions. You can put in the IP address of that device. Initially, you'll use that initial generic or default password to log onto it. Immediately change that password as soon as you log onto it, and you can just follow the directions. And in the home devices are plug and play, so it's very simple to just read the directions or click. And I mean, pretty much anyone can get those things set up and squared away. And once you get to that admin side, once you log in, you can set up different configurations. If you want 2.4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, if your device is going to be spread out, you know, you want to, and it kind of can walk you through that. So, but just in a nutshell, in the packages of those is simply IP address for that device, which connects you to that device. And then from there, you can simply just access that administration portal.
And so you're saying log on to a computer, you can't do anything from your router. Like let's say you had your router installed years ago, you've never looked at it since, but it's a complicated password. Can you really only change your password through either a phone or somewhere where you're actually logging into that account?
Yeah, so the router is not the actual interface itself. It has to be connected to a console, which is your computer, your laptop. And then also there's other apps too that you can put on your phone where you can control your, you know, your router or modem or any of your access points. But initially, so if this is your first time connecting your router, so you just got internet and you're just getting a router, it'll connect you online, but to configure it, you actually have to go to that admin side.
Okay. Great. There's another question. It says, let's see, from Heather. Seen lately that some of those password apps are vulnerable. Do you recommend one over the other?
I have not had any issues with the one that I use. Actually, there's two that I have used in the past that have worked very well for me. The first one is KeePass, KeePass. There's a portable KeePass, one that you can have on your computer, and then one that you can have on your phone. I have not saw any instances where that particular one has had any breaches. So I mean, there's tons out there. I don't want to just start naming off ones that I know of that I haven't used myself, because that might be ones that are some of the vulnerable ones that you might be talking about. But KeePass is one that I certainly recommend. And there's some tech tools that I use that are more bulky that I use with my software tools that I use. So some of my clients utilize those tools that I have because they keep their passwords, which they should, but because I am their managed service provider, I don't have access to that actual password, but I have access to where they can go to input their passwords to keep their passwords safe. So, but on the home use side, I would recommend KeePass.
Okay. A couple more questions, and I know we're approaching 1 o'clock here, or just right there. Lori Weltier, I'm evaluating VPNs for home use. Can you recommend any? I'm looking at CNET and PCMag recommendations, but curious about your recommendations. Oh, were recommended, but curious about your recommendations. Thanks.
Those two, I have heard of those two, and not bad options. NordVPN is a VPN that comes highly recommended. So there's the VPN side and then the firewall side. So if you are a small business, your firewall has a VPN feature that you can simply just access. You can go, and if your business has an IT provider, that's something that should have already been kind of addressed, being that the employees are working from home. But just a simple one for home users that aren't accessing a server at work, NordVPN. And also the PC Mag is a highly reputable magazine for not just providers, but computer geeks. So most of their recommendations are industry wide as well. So, but one thing about choosing the right VPN is, even though it's encrypted, you have to make sure that those VPNs don't share your data with other IT companies. So even though it's an IT company to IT company, like a doctor sharing information with another doctor, it's not that simple, because as sure as you want to keep your data safe, encrypted, and no one can view it, you don't want the company that you're getting this service from to be sending your data to another company, because who knows what they're going to be doing with that information. So you just want to ensure that that company you use does not share or sell your information with another third party.
Okay, and then we've got another last question here. What filter guards do you recommend for parents to download onto their computer or iPhone? I imagine everyone is familiar with these, but just in case, what programs would you recommend that will prevent any content to be accessed or seen by your children, or that will filter out things you want to prohibit?
Custodio. Custodio is one that I've offered to a couple clients that have kids that are of age, that have cell phones and their own laptops. So Custodio is one. There's different levels that you can purchase. I think the basic one, I think it's about $50 a year. 5 devices. You can put it on their phone, their laptop. You can configure it to send you alerts when they get on something, or a daily or a weekly alert, however you want to set that up. And you can whitelist or blacklist websites that they can go to, websites they can't go to, or you just want to limit it to one site that they can go to. You can also put that on there as well. So anything else they try to access, it will alert you and tell you exactly what they were trying to access. But initially, it'll block them from accessing those websites or any other application that you don't want them to view. So like I said, it's for home use as well, but it's more robust. It's an enterprise grade tools, but the tools that I recommend for business owners that usually work from home is Custodio.
Okay.
Very
Excellent.
inexpensive.
So why don't Christian and Stony, I guess Ethan first, if you want to share what your personal or professional email is for anyone who may have other questions that come up.
My email is ethan@rainiermanagedservices.com. More information. If you want this, if you want this document on PDF, I could send it to you. Have any more questions, concerns, something that I may have missed or didn't spend as much time on, let me know. I'm here to serve. Always, want to provide that value for clients as well as just chamber members as well. So